My name is Woodie Landeros.
And I'm Joseph Landeros.
You're listening to the Landeros Brothers, where we talk about
Communication through art.
I like how it sounds all structured.
Yeah. Let's roll to the
Well,
intro.
you're supposed to say, just roll the intro.
All right.
Okay, let's do it. Today's topic is about great unappreciated artists. Well, the original one was a great unappreciated artist, but then when I searched that up on Google, I found Edgar Allan Poe, El Greco, Vincent van Gogh, and many others. And then when I started diving deeper into these individuals' stories, I read the statement "starving artists." So then I went ahead and searched on Google for this, what would be like a term?
Yeah.
I went ahead and searched on Google for this term, and it says, a starving artist is an artist who sacrifices material well-being in order to focus on their artwork. They typically live on minimum expenses, either for a lack of business or because all of their disposable income goes towards art projects. So I like how they separated those two, and it's really like one or the other. It's a lack of business or because all the disposable income goes toward art projects. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think there's this common misunderstanding. I sort of get it, though. I mean, probably developed from a different decade that every artist is considered a starving artist. But I think that it's becoming more prevalent that people of our generation, or at least of our era, are taking advantage more of technology and of marketing and different things like that to get them out of that category.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think everybody's a starving artist to like a certain point or a certain extent, because you have to start out as a starving artist. Like, nobody's just going to give you that big brand deal that you expect. Like, even if you're the greatest painter or you're the greatest filmmaker or whatever it is that you do, like, you're not going to get that deal on like the first take. But I do believe that there's like that crossing side, and I have yet to see it, because I would still call myself a starving artist. Like, I haven't made the amount of money that I would like to make on my art, yet.
Right.
It's just like it's that yet. So, I mean, who knows? I might end up being one of these artists.
Yeah.
That starving artist, the one that just goes their entire life, and then I think that crosses over to the word like passion and how it holds your grounds of like being okay with, paying for the art materials and then executing the art and continuously doing that with your life, because a lot of people just do get the fulfillment in that. But I do think that it's like passion does have to be executed alongside with business and like marketing and advertising and being able to, like we said in the last podcast, being able to present and to showcase to an audience, to bring, I guess, like money to continue
Value.
to continue doing it. Even like even if you wanted to do it, like you can't continue just like if somebody sat down right now and just started painting and never trying to sell it, then they'll end up going broke, not being able to eat, and then you'll end up on the streets.
Perhaps some of these people are born in a different time where they would have been appreciated with different circumstances. Say someone like, as you mentioned beforehand, Edgar Allan Poe. It's a rainy day today, and sort of that word rain and its connotation of sadness sort of reminds me of him. But his death was actually undeclared, which is quite sad. Imagine your grandfather, your grandmother, someone who you care about to have passed away, and you know that their influence was of great significance. However, no one really knows how that person died. But we do know that he was a struggling alcoholic who actually shared his views and his struggles through his writings. So I think what he left behind is a legacy that will never be forgotten. However, for the time that he was alive and for the circumstances at plays, it's pretty sad. It's pretty cold story, to be quite honest.
So wait, his parents died undeclared of how they passed away?
No,
or?
he passed away undeclared.
Okay, that's what I thought I read. Because I was reading up on him last night of how it was like they said that his death and his poems were both very mysterious.
Right.
I thought that was extremely interesting to hear that about Edgar Allan Poe. And then also, I don't want to say any names wrong, but I think it was Vincent van Gogh.
Mm-hmm.
So there was multiple artists that had went through the starving artist, like the first artist that really went out and actually like took art as a like a career and went for it, because you had the working class, and then it wasn't like a normal thing for you just to go be an artist and expect to make all of your money on it. Like it's always like have been like an appreciated thing and also obviously valued, but when it came down to charging and to like making money off of it, it's very, very difficult, and it still really is. Even with education, I was reading on ideas.ted.com that the percentage of artists who make a living is only 10%. So only 10% of art school graduates make a living from their artwork. So even art school graduates, where they say that school is the way, only 10%. So that's very shocking, because like as an artist just going out and like doing something and actually trying to make it, that's one thing. But then having like a school background to be able to show you how to showcase your artwork, or supposedly showing you how to market yourself in this highly saturated world of art, it's like, how can only 10% be making a living on it? Like, why is it that a lot of the times I'll get on an Uber and I'll ask them, is this the only thing that you do? And they said, no, I'm actually a music artist and I record this. Check out my CD, and they'll play their art inside the Uber. Or they'll say, no, I love doing, I'm also a filmmaker and I love making feature films. And then you see their work and it's amazing, but then you wonder, why are you still doing Uber? And why is it that the people like that, I guess, are doing just average jobs are actually getting appreciated or even paid a lot more than like an artist, where they take a lot of time to put into their work? It's just really confusing. It doesn't balance out, because on one end you can make, $20,000 from a commercial real estate check in the matter of like a month of working, but then somebody could, ball out and start crying because they made $20,000 in a year from their artwork. And it's just like, where is that disconnection from like, I went to school, you went to school, or I took the non-school approach and I took the non-school approach, but one is business and one is art? And why is it that the artists cannot connect with, or don't always connect with, that sort of business approach? And for me, like, I see artists, like I'll go to downtown Riverside and I'll see that a lot of artists feel like almost ashamed, or almost like they're just not confident in themselves to be able to say, my artwork costs this much, even though they spent 50 hours on this piece. Mm-hmm. And they say, $20, and they feel bad. And then when people say, oh, I'll pay 15, they'll go, okay, well, you could take it for 15. And it's just like, I know it because I was in it. I know it because I was charging the $15 or the $10. I was doing the $8 T-shirts. I was selling like quickly in school, and just trying to figure out that sort of mass distribution in like the art world and stuff. It's just confusing to me. I'm very passionate about this topic, right, because I still am, and I still feel like a starving artist.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, something I would relate it back to is, say, when in the shift of manufacturing of cars. It seems a bit off subject, but before this whole industrial revolution, in which created our whole nation of capitalism, and, well, not essentially created it, but was able to contribute to it, one by one, cars were being manufactured at a slower rate. However, when things started to pick up with technology, they were starting to just get them out there, to the point that they would start to have these models come out every year. And what that proposed was the idea that one thing would be improved after the other as the years went on. So little by little, they would improve. However, they were selling us this idea that if you don't have the newest one, then it's out of date. So I think just a marketing strategy like that can be used, say, within the world of art. And something that we should actually take advantage of is just supply and demand. Being able to not necessarily play with the consumer, but allowing ourselves to be a little selfish with what we're putting out there, and allowing someone to also take pride in what you're giving them or what you're selling them. So a source that I bring up is the HuffPost, and this was an article that came from, that was written in 2017, and it explains 7 top mistakes that artists or starving artists happen to go through. And it says mistake number 3, which is they aren't using the power of storytelling. Back to what I was saying, this contribution of cars being manufactured contributed to this whole idea of the American dream, or whatever that concept may mean, meaning that you'd have to have the best of the best, and contributing to that idea of materialism. So say if I'm going to sell you this pen, or not sell you this pen, but say I'm going to sell you this piece, I want to add a little bit more background, a little more context as to how those 50 hours of painting all these layers onto my canvas really meant something, rather than just giving away your product for only $15 and not having that communication come across. I think that's something that we all need to work on, is just communication, and just take advantage of the different sources that we have.
Which brings us back to the title of this, or I mean the actual thing that we're talking about in this podcast, which is communication through art. And I like how you said the storytelling part, because the company that I co-own is Rebecca Blue Media, and all of our stuff is all based on storytelling and strategy. So it's just a mix between both of those. And I really feel that just if you have that t-shirt, because I did own a company called Gogh back then, and I would just sell t-shirts, and I would put a cool design on it, and yes, it would sell, but it would only sell one time. So whenever I told a story with it, every single time I told a story, that customer would turn into a 2-time client, or 3-time, 4-time, and they would come back, because they were not actually buying the product, they were buying the experience, they were buying the story, they were buying the person behind the brand. And then when I took my face off of it, and when I stopped doing it as much, they said, "Where's the story? Where are you at? What are you doing? Are you still doing things? I want to support you." And it was more so they were buying the meaning of Gold Kills, which is money, power, fame, or something of value can destroy the person inside of you, and you have to watch out for that and make sure that you're really just a genuine good person, just in a whole. And they got really sad when I stopped making it, because then they were like, "Well, how can I support you?" They weren't saying "Well, when is Gold Kills going to come back?" It was "Well, what are you doing now?" Because they got obsessed with that sort of storytelling aspect of it. And then also I want to bring back, I kind of got confused at what you were talking about with the social media. Are you saying that people should post more and then see what the marketplace says, or post less and make it more valuable? I was kind of confused at what you were saying.
What I was trying to say is that I think that there should just be a constant communication with the consumer, whether it be just an update on how you're doing, contributing to the storytelling thing. Say through
more.
Instagram. Yeah, more.
Okay, more.
I think it helps to have more. However, I do think that at the same time you should be a little bit more conscious of what you put out on the internet. I think that's something that is definitely coming about, that people are starting to learn that is really important, is creating a good, trustworthy, as you said, face on the internet that can represent who you are as in a person as well. Because I've met so many people where I say, "Oh, how are you doing? We've talked over the internet. It's great to finally meet you." And it's hard to even get across just the hello and how are you doing type of conversation. It doesn't really go into depth, because sometimes they can't really back up what they put up on the internet.
I want to go back to what you said about being cautious. I think also being cautious about taking the word cautious into play when you go into social media, because, okay, so person A and person B, one person has a post about boxing. They are a boxer. Mm-hmm. Don't be cautious about whether that the body position is good enough or not. Post that. I think more so be cautious about the person B. You're a boxer, and then you have one where you're clubbing and you have drinks in your hand, and then a cheeseburger, and and you're in the streets. That's more so what you should be cautious about. I think be completely reckless, person A, and be completely cautious, person B. So another thing, my sister, Stephanie Landeros, I'm going to call her out. She has a lot of great content. She has a lot of great things, a lot of great art pieces. She's a filmmaker, editor, dancer, artist, and she is very cautious about posting that boxing picture, right? She's very cautious about it. And I think that in that case, you need to be 100% reckless and post online and post every second. What am I doing? What am I saying? Where am I going? Like every single minute, all about like the things that you're creating and the things that you're passionate about. And like in that case, be reckless.
Yeah.
And I think that also just to kind of bring it back, because we're kind of going left field. We always want to go into like the social media and like that part of it. So there was on one hand, it was because of lack of business. So now we're talking about marketing, we're talking about social media, we're talking about how to showcase yourself and how that you need to be aware of yourself and aware of your business and where it's going. And also be honest and on social media. And then because that's, that is our life now. It's our life, whatever. And then on the other end, it's because people are putting all of their income back into the materials. So,
I'll speak on that. To close out what I was saying beforehand, which is kind of ironic that Henry Ford happened to say. This is actually my senior quote. And he says, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So with that being said, I'll transition over to what we're speaking of. Say with myself, having over 30 YouTube videos because of people such as Woodie Landeros and Rebecca Blue, thousands of views via Facebook ads, a website with merchandise, I have almost no return. Now, it's something that's actually really questionable for even someone like myself, where again I get lost in this idea of, am I doing enough? Am I not? What is going on within the whole overall process of this? But at the end of the day, what is still at place and what is still concrete is that we still have a plan. And with a plan comes patience. And I think that that's something that also creators should take into play. Even with myself, speaking about boxing, I'm not going to defend it and say that it's as majestic or as passionate as something like painting, or I'm not going to really put it under the same realm of calling it an art upon this context. However, I will say that it is an effort to create this overall image and create, my career as an individual. So with all these contributions going into these different accounts, social media and different things like that, or even with myself visiting Mexico all the time, trying to give back to different communities, sometimes it's kind of hard to see what it will all become in the end. However, I think that it's always important to continue on with your goals.
Yeah. And the way that you're giving on social media and to the communities in Mexico and all of this stuff, that's giving value. Where I have a slight issue with is when you don't ask for I guess not a favor in return, but ask for business or ask for help. Like just being free, just being comfortable with asking for help, because a lot of artists do give till the day they die, and then that's called a starving artist. If they don't have somebody that's really, really caring for them on the side to give them that bonus or to give them that, to be able to say, okay, well, I think he does deserve this much, then that person will use and abuse you forever. So a quote that Gary said, and it's one of his very simplistic quotes, Gary Vaynerchuk, is give value, and then ask for business. So that's just kind of like in the social media world, how you're trying to give advice and you're trying to give inspiration for the youth to become greater in what they do. When you're giving, we need to be comfortable as artists or as athletes or as people of just this world. When we're like giving, we need to be comfortable with saying, hey, can you support me by buying this t-shirt? Because at the end of the day, that money is going to, again, go back into it and continue the flow of being a starving artist, but it's just going to keep me there. It's going to keep me there. It's going to keep me there. Like, I have been doing my YouTube channel for a little while. I think I'm at, I think it's like 31 vlogs, 9 podcasts, 20 dance videos, and some other stuff. I don't know. I have a little bit over 50 videos on YouTube that I feel that I've been giving. But now it's about time to start asking, not necessarily asking for like a paycheck, but asking for help. Like, hey, I cannot get to this next step. I'm going to need some sort of like, either like a collaboration, or I'm going to need you to support me, and then I could put your brand in there, like just to get me to make the next YouTube video. Because or else then you're just working in a starving artist mindset. And then a lot of the times when you're trying to make money, you don't necessarily make the best decisions. That's why like the broke stay broke and the rich stay rich. Like the broke stay broke because they're always looking for the next paycheck. And the rich stay rich because they already have all the payments set for the rest of this year. So now it's, how can we grow? And it's really hard, like as talking about broke and rich, as a starving artist and a rich artist, it's really hard to get out of that broke artist mindset and just thinking, what's the next piece, and then going into what's the future of my art. But it's necessary to step back and to be able to ask somebody, can you help me with this, because I have a bigger picture than myself.
Right.
That was a handful, but
It was.
I really just like, again, when I'm like really confident, or when I'm really like touched by a certain topic, I have to say what I feel like right now, and it's just like, it's a lot. I know it's a lot. You can take the stage for a little while, because I just been talking too much.
So what I'd like to redirect it back to is sort of the upsetting instances in which artists have not been able to fulfill their destiny, or, accomplish more than they maybe should have. Such as someone, say, like Mac Miller, where he happened to pass away from drug overdose not that long ago, only a few months ago. And it was pretty sad and a pretty big blow on the world and the community of hip-hop. So I don't know if you want to speak on anything like that with someone who maybe has a buzz, but still it's not necessarily someone who is taking over the realm that maybe they should have.
I'll speak on that. I think whether you're making it or not, mental health is number one. So like, you could be rich, you could be poor, you could be fat, skinny, whatever, but mental health and being able to be like confident about yourself is number one. I do got to say that I do speak with like, I guess with some experience of that too, knowing that like I have made over like a $10,000 paycheck on one project, and I just wasn't happy. And that part wasn't necessarily like connected with like mental health, but it is being like mentally in the right position to be able to like make it, or to be comfortable with where you're at, no matter with how much you have. So like, I know my parents will be extremely happy if they were in a shed or if they were in a mansion. Like, it doesn't break them, because the relationship portion of it, they're mentally bound. So like, that needs to be set first. And also, I think that has to do with, I don't really know a lot about Edgar Allan Poe, or I don't know a lot about it. So this is just based off of what I read, and then let's go ahead and paint like a secondary character. For a person to be creating art off of like the stuff that's hurting them, and not getting the sort of like if art is your like cry to help and you're not getting that, you should really resort to like talking, and you should really step out of that art realm and like go and ask for help, and being able to like be comfortable with talking to a psychologist or a therapist, and reaching for help beforehand.
Right.
I'll say that too. That was kind of off topic again, but yeah. But also like going back to like the just being a starving artist, I think there's another quote. I know we're bringing out a lot of quotes. The last time we didn't have like enough to say, and then this time I feel like we have a lot more ready. So I just have this last quote, and then the rest is just freebie for me. I'm going to put down my phone. But it's a quote by Wilma Rudolph, and it says, "Believe me, the reward is not so great without the struggle." And, oh man, like just struggling and then making like $500 on a project, it just feels like that much better.
Yeah.
Just that struggle. But I'm not sure if that's like something that we have kind of been built into or we have been like trained to. But I know that whenever, and I will get there, it's just going to take some time. Whenever I am at the succeeding point, it's just going to be understanding like I went through the struggle portion and now I have to just like bathe in the glory, but never be satisfied.
Definitely. Even with myself in the past, having fought in different tournaments, I've had situations where I fought back to back in some pretty hectic battles in the ring, and having to go home taking just silver, not gold, not first place, but second place. Basically the, what do they call it again? The best loser, or whatever you want to call it. So with myself, having that experience, I could remember that the next time that I fought and I happened to win, it almost felt that I took those struggles from the last time that I lost over to the ring because I had something to prove. I didn't want to return back to what had occurred in the last fight because that was just a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
It was resolved only a little bit whenever I happened to win the next fight, but there was just something that meant so much more if I would have won the past tournament when I was fighting back to back.
Yeah.
And I think, I've probably said in the past, if anyone's heard me, boxing is very synonymous with life, just as track is, just as a couple of other sports are, because in boxing it's just you're fighting against the time, and every second counts.
Now, I think for you, you have to bring the boxing and connect it with business, because I think if you just like treat business like your boxing career, then you'll like make it 100%. Because that whole like getting knocked down, getting like letting frustrations lead to breakthroughs, and like just peeking past that, like I like, no, you're not going to tell me that I can't do it, or like, no, I'm not going to lose again, and just taking that into like a business perspective or a business aspect, I think you can like dominate everything. But it's just going to take, I guess, translating everything from boxing to business.
Right. Even now, directing it back to art and what my ambitions are in this world of art, I want to become a designer, or at least a creative director, or maybe all of the above. Someone who could have influence in the world of design, and with something of that category of that world, I have almost no understanding of it, all except for the fact that I happen to have my own style and my own contributions or my own interest in fashion. However, I think it's just the same struggle as when I came into the ring for the first time. Not having any understanding of what it's about, but just having that full-on ambition to conquer and just continue on.
Yeah. Well, we only have about a minute or two more of this podcast, but I just wanted to kind of end it out by saying, if you're a starving artist, don't be afraid to charge what you're worth. Like, go out there and test out the grounds and even charge a little bit more. And if it's too much, bring it down and then bring up the value of your work, and then continuously like grow with that. Bring up the value, bring up the price, bring up the value, bring up the price. Don't bring up the price first. Always bring up your value. So not necessarily saying sell, this black and white piece for, this X amount of dollars. Like, always be testing the grounds with it, and just know that like some art is not necessarily worth the same amount as other pieces, but you as an artist, you just like creating, like you are worth X amount, right? Whatever's in your head, whatever you want to be worth. And yeah, and then another part is, if you do like need to buy the materials, just buy the materials. Like, there's no shame in being a starving artist, because I'm still a starving artist. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I'm trying to figure out like 2 months from now paycheck. Like, I'm just trying to get like different jobs to be able to build and to be able to grow as an artist. But I think it is definitely a more fulfilling life than choosing one like in the back of like I mean, I don't want to put anybody down, like a trash guy for, you know, some really crappy company that calls you names. You know, it's way better trying to go for your art and being broke than putting down your value in every sort of way and letting other people put you down too. Like step out of that. I don't want to see any more pizza guys being artists. I want like artists to break through and to actually make money, make a living, and make a family in the future.
Be happy.
Yeah. And I think that concludes it, right?
Yep.
All right, we're out.
Take care.